Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Lordy, I've been continuing to do some research on this book. Meanwhile, I'm watching a Harry Hubbard video, Into the Abyss, the Ma of the Abyss, and reading some other books. I think I got a brain overload from doing some homework on this book, Crop Circles and the Symbols. Quite bizarre. And connecting the dots is ever increasing. So the symbol I was looking up, I was a little perplexed, and I was pondering and looking into things and checking out this book. But apparently this huge 180-foot long crop circle with all these intricate patterns. Remember, this is Crop Circles Revealed, with Judith Moore and Barbara Lamb, a couple people into the New Age philosophy and channeling material. So, I was a little suspect when invisible beings are feeding us the information. But I am looking into it diligently, the symbols, reading from the book, and looking up other assorted materials on like Yahoo image site, where you can put in things like a winged disc for a search. And you get all kinds of pictures. Then you can click the pictures and you can get websites with more details on a winged disc. And it's just been blowing me away in my pursuit. Because of my curiosity, I'd never really pushed it on the trying to understand the crop circles. But I have, since I wanted to do a book review on this book, and oh my! So if I go back into this book, page 181, where apparently they're discussing this particular crop circle. Now remember, I continue to say discernment is vitally important. This is series 203, part 2, on the Crop Circles Revealed with Judith Moore and Barbara Lamb, to give a proper opening to this video. So I was looking at that symbol and many others, trying to continue from part 1. I could spend quite a long time on inquiries into things that are in this book. But again, discernment. You can't just believe what's in this book by people who are into the psychic and new age channeling material, getting their material from interdimensional beings, demons, fallen angels, good angels, Palladians, the Galactic Council, the Andromedans, Masters, all these different kinds of beings in the research I've been going over, knowing full well it seems like they're trying to feed us some new philosophy, entering the age of Aquarius. Remember that song? Age of Aquarius? And so much more. And of course, Jesus was born at the beginning of the age of Pisces. So what are we to believe? So anyways, that intricate symbol, and you can go on the Yahoo image site or just the internet and search crop circles, and you'll get a plethora of results. And it's worthwhile investigating what they're saying. But you just can't believe what they're saying is the truth, knowing full well there is a propaganda campaign out there to destroy the beliefs that we all have had, including Christianity and probably even the Islamic Muslims religion and maybe many others, and bringing us this New Age philosophy that all is one. There's no such thing as good and evil. Do as thou wilt, maybe. And we're going to ascend into the another dimension with more superpowers and abilities. Instead of a three-dimensional physical being, we're going into the fourth or the fifth dimension, a non-physical scenario. All kinds of theories. I've been making videos on all these topics. And even at this point in the game, in my 5th year, some of this information is just mind-blowing. But let me read a little bit from page 181 and just take a stab at trying to share some of this information. Oh my. So this pictogram I showed you was 1,020 feet long. I said 180, sorry. It's over 1,000 feet long and is known as the East Field Long Pictogram. So a big old pictogram. It was placed next to and near the long serpentine formation in the same field under the Knapp Hill on the same night. So a long serpentine crop circle, which would probably be something like a big serpent. That's interesting. Many researchers agree that this looks like a retrospective art exhibit from the circle makers, incorporating many design elements that had appeared in long crop circles during the previous years, especially in 1990 and 1991. So this particular crop circle apparently was a culmination of many other crop circles of previous years. On June 14, 1999, during an airplane flight over the field, researcher Francine Blake captured on film an amazing anomaly that appeared to be flying over this long formation. So an amazing anomaly flying over this crop circle, or this crop design. It looked like two wide areas of whitish light, one above the other, with 8 orbs of dark light between the two layers. So we got 8 orbs flying over this crop formation. This has mystified many people. 5 nights later, on June 19th, German researcher Frank Luhmann photographed an orange sphere over this crop circle. So an orange sphere, I guess days later after it was created, was flying over the crop circle. So you think the manufacturers of the circle were coming to visit it again? Or was it other beings coming to see it also? Makes you wonder. Okay. Apparently, a local man named Charles Mallet was camped in this field overnight on June 12th and the 13th, and was amazed to wake up in the early morning and see this and the serpentine formation 500 feet away from him. He had not seen anyone else in the field with him or heard any noise during that night, and he saw no traces of footsteps or tracks or equipment or in the formation. So somebody was sleeping there in the field nearby, and he didn't hear or see anything. And you got these two huge formations, serpentine and this kind of complicated, technically looking one. The energies in this and in the serpentine formation were strong enough to disable all battery-operated equipment. A dog who spent the night in the end circle of this formation acted very disturbed for hours, barking, growling, and acting sick. Another dog refused to go into the formation at all. Even veteran researcher Francine Blake felt queasy when entering this formation. The photographs she took in this pictogram showed unusual light anomalies. Oh my. So apparently they had some psychics do some interpretations from these crop circles. And this particular psychic says what the crop circle means. And it says here, this is a planetary merge of galactic quantum, the completion of the 13th solar houses, the joining of the 11th house into the Council of 13. This crop circle is a crystalline code for the evolution of cosmic DNA. So I guess that's a variation of ascension. So it just got me thinking, and I started looking up some other material. So I'll be making several short videos to make a long video, trying to touch base on these different issues I looked up that are just fascinating. But before I do that, I'm going to continue that document yesterday. That's into, this one is Lisa Transcendence Brown, this picture I showed. Because I believe this stuff is related. The algorithms and enhanced dynamics, electronic cells, and super quantum circuitry upgrades. That's what's in this website at ABZU2. Something about ascension. Algorithms, those are software programs like Jade Helm 15, when they were moving equipment and troops all over the United States and having military operations like they were defending the nation against an enemy or aliens or terrorists, door to door, all with computerized control, not human control, artificial intelligence, AI. And that seems to be a big thing right now that's in the media. People out there talking about the 5G network coming online and all kinds of other weird things. But this says algorithms, enhanced dynamics, electronic cells, and super quantum circuitry upgrades. This guy says on February 2017, this entire last week, and especially the last 2 days, we've entered frequencies never before experienced here. It's been interesting to observe because of how they are affecting the physical body through the upgrade process. These mega high wattage volts of current running through our bodies cause the body to go, and it stops there, it probably causes the body to go crazy. So I'm just saying, with this propaganda or new age material out there about ascension and the 5G network, artificial intelligence, electronics permeating our bodies and everything, I just wonder what kind of weird things are coming soon to our planet. People are not going to believe what they see, feel, hear, think. Something bizarre apparently is going to happen. The next picture in the thing. And the crop circles have the pyramids and triangles and images like similar to this picture. If you go look up crop circles, the small little dots moving around like a vortex. So like I said, this whole ascension thing and all this Kabbalistic material seems to be connected. Judith Cussell, your future self is emerging with this massive shift in consciousness. So when you look at those crop circles, you see something like a merger or a shift of something, of planetary spheres or other types of spheres. Your future self is now emerging as all of us are going through immense energy upgrades. So according to this document, we're all going through immense energy upgrades to prepare us for the new life on planet Earth. As she has now ascended into the 5D, fifth dimension, and we're going to get the 5G network, gigahertz frequencies, radio frequencies the size of molecules in your blood cells. What can they do? What we believe to be the physical reality of life on planet Earth exists no more. Better read that again. What we believe to be the physical reality of life on planet Earth exists no more. And it ends here, some will try. I think that's going to say some will try to resist. Here's the next picture. Looks like a human ascending has turned into some kind of light being. Let's hope they're not going to just cook us and incinerate us with these microwaves. And I guess then we will ascend. Our spirits and souls will rise above the dead bodies, maybe. Just saying. My brain thinketh, so the mouth speaketh. Huge acceleration of ascension in effect due to frequency wave. By Dana Canfield, the beloved light tribe. We have had accelerated timelines in the last 2 weeks with the manifestation of a huge energy wave that took place last night, May 24th. We are still in this Ascension Corridor Gateway. You can find my post here. You may feel discombobulated and detached from 3D reality for some time. Oh boy. Can you see why I was a little bit perplexed about making this video? I don't even know where to begin. So I said, well, just look at the documents and look at the pictures and look at the material I've been looking up that's been boggling my mind and make the video. What else can I do? The planet is being bathed with increased vibrations from the galactic center. We are here offering you our acknowledgement and gratitude. We are extending our support and encouragements as we remind you again of your personal power and magnificence. Oh, some interdimensional beings want to compliment us on our personal power and our magnificence. I should set off alarm bells. I was watching the Harry Hubbard video this morning, continuing on the topic of the Kabbalah, and he had switched over to the encyclopedia information on the Zohar and on the demonology. And apparently these demons, as per the Encyclopedia Judaica, they are tricksters and they like to deceive people and trick people and compliment people at the same time. So I was thinking of that when I was reading this. We are observing the energy of chaos, and I'm reading that, and I think of President George Bush Sr. saying, out of chaos and anarchy will come the New World Order. Unbelievable. And he said that on September 11th, but it was like 1986, not the 2001 September 11th. And of course today is the summer solstice, the 21st of June, which is a ominous day, in witchcraft, the solstices and the Illuminati and the other mystery religions. The solstices and the equinoxes are holidays. The next solstice, of course, will be December 21st. And if you remember my previous videos, that was in 1913. It was December 21st when Senator Hyde met with a bunch of other fellows from the Illuminati at Jekyll Island in Georgia, USA, and came up with the paperwork and plan for the Federal Reserve taking over the USA money supply. And then, of course, they started World War I 6 months later. But I'm just saying, they did that on a winter solstice. And, of course, when at that time, during a solstice, the sun reaches its further point south during the winter solstice, and it stalls out for 3 days. So do the math. And on the 4th day it rises. So it rises on the 25th of December, which is on Christmas. Jesus' birth. The Savior rises and the sun rises. The timing of these things is a bit interesting, to say the least. We are observing the energy of chaos and intensity that is being offered by the collective consciousness. Remember, you truly chose to be present during these times. You hear that a lot from the psychics and the material for the New Age. We all chose to be here during this event. What do you think? Here we go, the Arcturian Council. I'm almost through with this offside document that I discovered doing some of my crop circle research. And I just thought it was related because of all the crop circles seeming to do something like ascending or diverging, either merging or diverging, evolving into something. And I've found a lot of evidence to say that it's related to the Kabbalah, which is related to the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons, all into the mystery religion, also called sorcery, which is also called witchcraft, which is part of spiritualism, communicating with some otherworldly beings and visible reality, and coming at us in many different forms, so it seems. Arcturian Council, here's the picture. Greetings, we are the Arcturian Council. We are pleased to connect with all of you. We take great pride in letting you in on our latest assessment of humanity. You have turned a corner and have begun to shake yourselves free of the idea of oppression and persecution on your world. And we certainly have a lot of oppression and persecution on planet Earth, especially since 9/11, all those people in the Middle East, and also the uptick in the police action and the monitoring everything we do on the surveillance systems here in Europe and in the United States and apparently the world, and apparently in high intensity in China, according to some material I was looking at. Something's going on. The second phase of the acceleration into ascension has begun. Another picture. All right, Dana Canfield, here we go, shifting into second harmonic universe. Now remember, they're about to turn a switch and turn on the 5G electromagnetic network, microwave network, including HARP systems, transmitters located in Alaska and Puerto Rico and Norway, strategically located in a big V pattern all over the world, and satellites with directed energy weapons and cell phone towers maybe every 1 mile apart, and smart meters and smartphones and smart refrigerators and smart cars, and everything is going to be smart, all being monitored or controlled through an artificial intelligent software program designed by these people who control our planet. And there's something called Project Bluebeam. Go look it up if you're interested, but they're supposed to fake like a second coming of Jesus or return of Muhammad or Buddha or Shiva or whoever, depends what religion you are. They can turn the entire reality around us into a gigantic holographic TV reality. Just mind-boggling to think about it, but the more you look into it, the more you seem to be able to verify it. Acceleration has begun as we begin to enter the new reality we have all worked so diligently to create for expanded humankind. Is anybody believing they're doing something good for us while you can go outside and see and they're dumping chemicals in the sky, controlling the weather, causing fires and droughts, and microchipping children all over the country and the world, and so much more. Legislation being passed in Europe to curtail freedom on the internet. And it's being planned here in the USA. Even a friend of mine mentioned a couple hours ago, Rick, I look into certain things and my computer is just freezing up. And she has an Apple computer. And I said, yeah, you heard me. I've been complaining about it too. I have a Asus computer. And yesterday, I was looking at something, looking up a 10-pointed star. And my computer actually went crazy and had flashing warning signs, identify yourself, identify yourself. And it was screaming like a fire alarm bell in a school system, and I couldn't shut it off. I had to power down my computer. And my friend who was in the house couldn't believe it. It was very alarming. I wish I should have let it go and videotaped it. It was just beyond belief. But I was looking up the 10-pointed star, part of my crop circle research. I said, somebody doesn't want me to look into this, or I looked into something that people don't want me to look into. All right, the expanded humankind, the acceleration started April 26th and have not let up since the gateway has opened. The gateway opening? At least we not forget CERN and the Shiva statue out front, goddess of destruction. And the archways they put in New York and London, portals to Titus, Palmyra. What are they putting up doorways for? Just nothing but an archway, like a Stargate in the City Park in New York and London, and later on to UNESCO. I found out they were putting up 1,000 of them all over the world, coming out of the United Nations. It boggles the mind. Shifting into second harmonic universe, the pinnacle of the ascension cycle marks the end of the 3D collective timelines on the Earth. As the planet is moving into higher frequencies, well, they got that right. When they turn on the 5G, we'll be moving into higher frequencies that are located in a future space-time. So we all know what happens if you throw a hot dog or a glass of water into a microwave oven. The molecules and atoms get all agitated and start cooking. And they're about to turn this 5G network on. And then they're talking about ascension. And I'm thinking, well, when Jesus was crucified, he ascended. They killed him. And of course, he rose from the dead in spiritual form. So they're talking on this next page as a shifting the planetary consciousness into a future dimensional octave. This skips the entire planetary consciousness field. All right, this is Mike Quincy, a message, April 21st, 2017. Events are ever moving at a faster speed, and they are heading for the days when the truth of your existence will be revealed. And I've gone over a lot of books, Zachariah Stitchin's material, and all these other books, that Anunnaki aliens, or even Series 202 about the Nephilim, the Elohim mating with human women, and the Palladians, Barbara Marciniak. Look at my series of videos there, saying that the Palladians are returning to make up for their mistakes when they interfered with the humankind evolution and intervene, and they're here to fix things. So whether you're talking about Palladians or Arcturians, and what about reptilians, and what about gray aliens? So here they are heading for the day when the truth of your existence will be revealed. In reality, there is not much time left before the changes come upon you. and it would be well that you are prepared for. Last little bit here. In the midst of the great transition, the Arcturians, through Susanna Lai, I thought that was an interesting name, Susanna Lai, like she's lying, L-I-E. We want you all to know that Gaia is apparently planet Earth, preparing for first contact with her galactic family and desperately needs the assistance of her awakened humans to assist her to prepare for her planetary transition. You saw the crop circles, all those transitions and merging or diverging, moving together or separating into two, into being a fifth dimensional planet. Yes, just as you are preparing for being a fifth dimensional human. So when you die and your spirit leaves your body, does that make you or me a fifth dimensional entity, a spiritual being? Just asking. You know, maybe there's some truth in what they're telling us, but people don't grasp what it really means. If you watch my previous videos, I have many of them going on 500 and 700 hours and 200 books. This is series 203, part 2. So another issue I looked into after this particular issue here, this some kind of glowing orbs or craft flying over this that I just read. So I decided, as I've been saying on my videos, that I need to go to the MUFON site and see what's going on this month, you know. And it's mind-boggling. Go to MUFON, MUFON.com, and it allows you to look at the June activity, the May activity, and it's just fascinating. And what are we to believe? I mean, apparently the crop circles are real. Apparently they're clearly Kabbalistic, Hermetic, mystery religious, involving aliens. There's pictures of aliens, and apparently their glowing orbs or craft are flying over the crop circles that have been witnessed by people, photographed by people. So I decided to go to MUFON, and it was just fascinating. Look at this picture. So somebody saw a aura, you can call it a vortex or whatever, a dark spinning cloud in the sky or a piece of the sky opening up, looking like a drain or something, or, you know, a sideways tornado or twister. But they call it an aura, and apparently says UFO disappeared into the aura. And I've, in my UFO alien books and research, it's been eyeballed, witnessed many times of these fleeing crafts, saucers, whatever, and in front of them opening up this portal. And again, I'm thinking about CERN, thinking about the archways of Baal, Titus, all over the world, and all the other satanic symbolisms and rituals. And then I'm reading this that happened on 4/27/2018. The Netherlands witness at Huzan reporting watching a disc-shaped object that quickly vanished, according to the testimony in case 86486 from the MUFON UFO Network Witness Reporting Database. The sighting occurred on 7:38 p.m., September 3rd, 2017. A disc-shaped like from the north on a path to the south. So you got a disc coming from the north to the south. changed direction and vanished into an aura circle-like shape. The witness stated, "There was no sound." The witness provided one illustration. So what do you think? And there's, like I said, this isn't the first time I've heard of this. Holographic trickery? Project Bluebeam? Where would the government be going by going into another dimension if the government had craft like that? And I do believe in other dimensions. I believe there's a spiritual world. I mean, you can read the Bible. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, and you've heard about fallen angels, and Jesus casting out unclean spirits, and then we've heard about demons. People have reported seeing ghosts throughout history, and so much more. The Arabs have some version of ghost. They call it a jinn or genie. And of course, to desensitize we the people and kind of program people to believe that this is all a joke, they gave us TV programming like I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched. And then even to ridicule the Germans after World War II, they gave us Hogan's Heroes, making those people to appear, the Germans, to appear like buffoons, when apparently anything could be the truth but that, because a lot of those German scientists and elites were gathered up at Project Paperclip and brought to the United States, where whatever program was going on was continued here. So the elite who controlled our world knew what they were doing and wanted those people and what they were working on to continue. So the goals of the Third Reich did not die. Apparently they were just moved, and they're trying to move us into the Fourth Reich, which may be the fifth dimension or some kind of matrix computer control microchip situation like the movie Divergent or Hunger Games. They're making movies on these things. Even the TV programming that's almost unbelievable to believe. The Lucifer program and Gotham and Modern Family, and prior to that, 2.5 Men, Charlie sleeping with a different girl almost every show. Before that, Jerry Seinfeld, he was sleeping with a different girl almost every show. They were changing our perception and behavior of morality, which is one of the goals, the destruction of Christianity and the belief of the Ten Commandments, part of this paradigm shift. I just mention all that because you can't just think about one thing and leave the other thing out. You have to put everything into context and say, when you're making this cake and you're putting in all of these ingredients, what are you going to get? You throw some rocks in the cake, it's not going to be a really good cake. Throw some dirt in there and some chemicals and rat poison, it's going to be a horrible cake. Metaphor. All right, so another page here on the latest report, the last 20 sightings, and I just printed this out on 6/21 at 3:54, Mountain Time in North Carolina. The first one says here, 3 UFOs trying to communicate out my window in Utica, New York. And they have a link where you can click the image. I did print out one image I'll show in a moment. Observed lights in morning sky, very high, maybe 7 or 8 miles, moving very slowly, assumed the lights belong to some type of objects. That was Moreno Valley, California. Saw hovering light in sky, took off so fast, left a trail of light like the Enterprise. Wow, left a trail of light like the Enterprise on Star Trek. That was Buffalo, New York. Hovering sphere above beach in Punta Cana. I guess that's in Dominico. I was sleeping along with my parents on my rooftop. We saw these 2 saucer-like objects emitting white light and moving rapidly from one end of the sky to the other. It felt like they were moving in space with mountains below as boundaries. Villager 2 saw. That was Guntar, Indiana, I guess. UFOs over Dan Dung, China. There's several pictures, like glowing orange orbs, like the ones I've taken pictures of in Orlando, Florida, and I've shown on previous videos. Another one here on the 621. Well, this is pretty current. All those were 621. These are all brand new reports. A person or resemblance was sucked into the UFO and was ejected at a very fast rate after 10 minutes. Then the UFO hovered and went quickly in the same direction. The sound from the UFO was unlike I have ever heard and find it difficult to imitate it. So the UFO sucked in a human and then ejected it? Now you see why I read that material on the Ascension that I looked up. Saw this in the sky whilst taking photos of sun chemtrails. They have links. If you go look on MUFON, you'll see the current activities and you can look at the pictures. We took a photo of an airplane coming at us, and there seemed to be something in there that I thought was reflections of the sun on the guy's camera. Discovered the football-shaped object sitting over my grandpa's field. Cows were not there. We watched it for about 20-30 minutes. It suddenly flashed various colors, lights, and zoom, and it went in a straight line away from us and disappeared from view. Willow Springs, Montana. Seen a flash. Kept staring, wondering what it was, and if I had actually seen what I thought I saw. Then it flashed again, just as bright but further west. Macarici, NB, California. Metallic sphere flew in straight line while without changing speed or direction, no sound. A metallic sphere flying through the sky. Black ball appeared, hovered, and disappeared. Bright green sphere cruising across the sky. So I think that's the picture I have. And you can see it. I went online and printed out the picture. But you can clearly see there is a green sphere with a tail on it like a comet zipping across the sky. And it's not going from up to down like a comet. It's flying across the sky. Alright, bright green orb cruising across the sky. And remember, with the crop circle material, a lot of people have photographed and observed orbs flying over the crop circles. Apparently, in that last report, they had returned after they were created, but a lot of them have seen the orbs flying over the field as the crop circles were being manufactured. And apparently the symbols are Kabbalistic witchcraft, and of course throughout history demons have been brought into manifestation, and so much more. Satanic rituals where they sacrifice a human, like Hitler did in his diary in my series on To Eliminate the Opaque by Rabin Marvin Antelman. Go watch my videos. But in Hitler's diary, they sacrificed a kidnapped gypsy man in Munich, Germany, and doing an occult ritual with a young lady laying in an adjoining altar to bring forth a spiritual being, which apparently appeared according to the diary, but it failed to impregnate the young lady. And then, of course, during other rituals from Illuminati people who are trying to expose the truth, whistleblowers, they said they have these sacrificial rituals, and they change from flesh and blood humans into reptilian-looking beings. Or during one ritual that I reported on, like a witchcraft coven in a circle in a field seen by some people up on a ridge. In the midst of these people doing a witchcraft ritual, a tall reptilian being appeared and looked up and saw them, and they went fleeing, and he reappeared in front of them on the path they were fleeing down, looked at them, scared the heck out of them, but then he disappeared and left them. So there's so much more. Like I said, 600-700 hours of videos I've made, and all those books, and so many books I have, and so many videos I've watched, and so many Nexus magazines, and so many other reports I've shown and acquired. It really makes you wonder, things going on in our reality right now. I think it would behoove us to wake up. And I think we all have the psychic spiritual power. I guess mentally and for our own salvation or souls and health, I think we need to decide which side we're choosing. And of course it says in Proverbs in the Bible, whoever seeks refuge in me, I shall be thy shield. So I don't know where I would even consider trying to fight anything what I'm reading about that's about to happen. I can't fight the turning on of the 5G network. I can't fight them dumping stuff in the sky and then I go into an asthma attack. I can't fight them using directed energy weapons, which Judy Wood says was likely used on the Twin Towers. And a lot of people were saying they seen bright lights and oddities during the California fires. And so much more. It's many material in the videos I've made, and I have all that collective information in my head. And regrettably, like a lot of other researchers and book authors or people who spoke out, like President John Kennedy, who said secret societies are repugnant to the American way of life in his famous speech. You can go look it up. President John Kennedy's famous speech, and listen to it. And of course he was assassinated at a Freemasonic Delaney Plaza with an obelisk shortly after. And he was supposed to be working with the Russians and was planning to expose the UFO truth to we the people. It all adds up. Like I said earlier, though, it scares me a little bit. The more you know and the more you're out there telling people, a lot of people have disappeared or fallen out of ski lifts, like a lot of those holistic healers or people who were working into biological technologies. One year, several people died mysteriously from a particular biological area, and holistic healers were dying. And then, of course, one year, a couple years ago, a lot of people working for the banking system were mysteriously dying left and right. And then during the Obama administration, many of our political military leaders were terminated and let loose from the military, so they were changing the people who were in charge. And so much more mysterious activity, like Jade Helm 15, like 911. And then, of course, my research into World War I and World War II was huge efforts, as prophesied by Albert Pike in 1880-something, part of the leader of the Freemasons, Scottish Rite in the United States, and a general for the South during the Civil War. There's a monument of him in Charleston, North Carolina. And apparently the president of the North, who was also a Freemason, pardoned Albert Pike. So it appears to me that these people into these lodges and temples and Illuminati, Zionism, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and all these other mystery religion occults and groups and lodges apparently worship some kind of entities, and the symbols are everywhere. The all-seeing eye Horus on the back of the dollar bill. And I know I'm repeating myself on some of these things, but not everybody watching this video has watched all the other videos or any other video. Let's see what it goes on here. Black ball appeared, hovered, and disappeared. Pasco, Washington. Bright green sphere cruising across the sky. Kernersville, North Carolina. Bright green orb cruising across the sky. Kernersville, North Carolina. Bright vertical white light. Prescott, Arizona. A strange bright star with 4 light streaks from it floated slowly towards our building, growing larger as it drew nearer. And that's Dominican Republic, I think. Shaped like a blimp-like object, but more cone-shaped, with a cylinder on top and bottom. Moscow Mills, Montana. Dark-shaped disc object and lights flowed by what appeared to be orange UFOs coming out of the sun. Rio de Janeiro, BR. That looked to me like lens flares from the sun. I could be mistaken. So there was the previous 20 reports as current as today. So all of these reports were today. It's only almost 5 o'clock. And yesterday. So there was probably more for yesterday. Anyways, here's a couple other pictures here and one more page when I looked up on MUFON. The Alabama witness reports low-flying triangle. And I made a video on Night Siege Series 37. You can go watch my videos. But apparently during 1984, all over Connecticut and western New York and Massachusetts, people were pulling over on the side of the interstates, and these huge triangle craft were hovering or flying slowly, like you see in this picture. So go watch my video, Night Siege. So this was in here happening in Alabama on 6/13/2018, recently. An Alabama witness at Gelsdon reported seeing a triangle-shaped object with bright and white lights at each tip and a single red light underneath, according to the testimony of Case 85065 from the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. So the guy says he was out on his front porch and lit up a cigarette, 9:30 p.m., July 12th. I was just looking up at the sky and saw a plane and then a big triangle with bright blinking light flew over me going east, the witness stated. I'm sure it's just some kind of plane, but when I tried to find out what kind of plane, it could just be a UFO. And then another person here on 6/4/2018, a huge ship reported over Florida Beach. So the guy drew a picture, he didn't take a picture. So a huge ship. A Florida witness at Hallandale Beach reported watching an oversized dark object silently moving overhead, according to testimony in Case 86937 from the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, Witness Reporting Database. The witness was sitting on a balcony talking to a roommate at 11:15 p.m., September 25, 2017. She was smoking a cigarette, the witness stated. The sky was dark and you could spot a few clouds to the northwest. I saw bright clouds, and then the first thing that came to my mind was my roommate's cigarette smoke. Then I realized that the smoke from the cigarette cannot be bright and so light up the sky. So she sees a bright light on the porch and thinks it's her friend's coal on the cigarette. But then it's lighting up the sky. I relocated myself closer to the mosquito net so I could look up to the sky, and when I did, I was completely shocked. So what are we to believe? You got physical sightings, you got abductions, you got crop circles, you got satanic rituals, you got all the talk about a global world order, you got all the false flag bomb shootings and gun shootings and all kinds of other crazy things, prophecy, Israel planning for a greater Israel from the Euphrates down to the Egyptian Nile, the Euphrates in Iraq, part of returning to their ancient kingdom property lines. And it's all coming to fruition. President Donald Trump just recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, something they've been fighting for hundreds of years. And it did take them World War I and World War II to get where they are today. And of course, with 9/11, they accelerated the program. So again, you have to put it all into context. And they do have some Kabbalistic mystery religion that involves demons and entities. And the symbols from the Kabbalah match the symbols in the, many of them, in the crop circles. And the books I've been going over with Zachariah Stitchins and so many others, they continue to tell us of these otherworldly beings. So when you put all this together in a box and shake it up and say this is all has to be one thing connected, I guess it might behoove us to wake up. I mean, really wake up and see the stuff they're dumping in the sky. See the cell phone towers they're erecting every mile or so. And the artificial intelligence, them being able to control our computers, and noticeably so by me and other people these days, and reported by other people on some of these alternate websites. Alex Jones was talking to that one guy over there in England, one of his reporters, and he was saying they're changing the laws in Europe and they're going to have algorithms, software programs that can literally decide whether your article or whatever you're doing can be allowed or allowed on the internet. They're going to control information, and they're doing it. They're shutting things down. Even Alex Jones said that, and other people have been saying that. David Icke is saying that. Many of these people. The Hodges show. So I've got so much work to do to continue getting this information out. And the activity going on in our world. We all know that the stock markets, people are directed with making money by investing in it. And people are telling me that they can't stop flipping houses. They're making too much money. And the prices are going up and up and up. But our personal income, yours or mine, is going down. And job losses are increasing. Apparently FEMA barges are moving off the coast of Hawaii, apparently like they did in Texas recently, where thousands and thousands of people who were taken to the FEMA barges were never seen again. And people are saying, do not get on those barges in Hawaii. They're parking the barges, according to the video I was watching today, 10 miles offshore, and they look like gigantic prisons on top of these barges. So you put all this into context, and then you talk about this lovely thing about ascension, and you're going to turn into a 5-dimensional spiritual being. And you got to go, wait a minute, look at the source of this material. These invisible entities channeling the material through these people that think they're talking to some kind of Palladians or Arcturians, or emissaries sent by God, or to God himself. Quite an elaborate thing going on right now, you think? Alright, I'm going to finish this video. I started it yesterday, the 21st of June, which would have been the summer solstice, when the sun comes to its furthest point to the north, stalls out for 3 days, and then begins its track back towards the south. The next one, of course, will be winter solstice, December 21st, where it'll stall out for 3 days and head back on Christmas Day. How weird is that? That we're in the solstices and they have these holidays like Christmas on the rising of the sun, the return of the sun, and the sun will be returning. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if something unique were to happen during this summer solstice, is my point there. And I was watching some other videos, so I have a couple clips that seem to be related to some kind of continued documentation. Dr. Sean Frost or something, you can see the name on the video. I just took out a couple minute clips of a video I was watching talking about people don't know what's going on down below. And it shows this information about this guy who him and his son were abducted. And then further on in the video, he's talking to some scientist, astronomer, and the fact that they've discovered some objects in some kind of orbit beyond the Kuiper Belt. And of course I've made plenty of videos on Planet Nibiru, the Anunnaki returned in Planet X. So it does seem that this information is continuing. It does seem that it involves planetary bodies, like the crop circles, and it does seem that it involves the Kabbalah and other organizations that use the Kabbalistic symbols like the Illuminati, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Tree of Life, and all of that, which, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, historically the Kabbalah has been the part of the culture of Jewish people throughout the past couple thousand years. And apparently where they learned this is when they were in captivity in Egypt 3,000-4,000 years ago. The Pharaoh's religion, with all those hieroglyphics like the all-seeing eye and other hieroglyphics, even the obelisk, are symbols we see all over the world in our city parks or on the back of the dollar bill. The pyramid, the eye, the obelisk, and also several uses of 13 feathers, 13 arrows, 13 stripes, 13 stars, 13, 13, 13, 13. And on the front of the dollar bill, perched on one of the ones, is an owl, Moloch apparently. Bohemian Grove, where they throw a baby in the fire, cremation of care. It's a giant owl. And of course, Washington, D.C., the street design, even shown on the telephone poles when you're looking for directions, even to the subway, it's a picture of an owl. Sandy Hook shooting, that one reporter holds up a picture of an owl. So anyway, as I was watching another video, I had clips about UFOs, aliens, and in the same clip about the astronomers or scientists finding some evidence of planetary bodies beyond the Kuiper Belt, which is halfway through the middle of our solar system, a huge body of rocks, where actually a planetary orbit should be, so it has been said in some of the material I've researched. And apparently on one of those returns, again apparently to some of the material I've researched, one of those return visits by Planet X or Herculumbus or the Destroyer, carrying the planet Nibiru and apparently Anunnaki aliens, they crashed into one of the planets in our solar system and disturbed everything. So just more evidence that it seems to be a pattern to the belief they're trying to propagate throughout human society, besides trying to destroy Christianity and of course destroy all those countries and depopulate the Middle East and bring about a greater Israel. And they're concerned about depopulating the planet and so much more, sustainability and electromagnetic weaponization of the cellular system and satellite system, and chemicals in the air and chemicals in our food. What's going on? But look at these two clips.
As they continued their journey, the Salters searched their memories for explanations. What really occurred during that missing time? Why did the UFO appearance feel so familiar to them? And why did they have such feelings of longing for something they could not identify? In a series of recall flashbacks, the lost time slowly came into focus.
I recall thinking to myself, they look like children up on the bumper looking in. They look just like little kids. Standing in the shadows was another humanoid. This man is as tall as I am, 6 feet. He is half human, half humanoid.
Something interesting about that clip is, obviously it's not homemade. Somebody with some serious money and technical ability put that video together.
One of the key people in the Planet 9 story is an astronomer here at Caltech, and he's got history when it comes to changing our views of the solar system. 10 years ago, he was instrumental in demoting poor old Pluto, and even wrote a book about it. His name is Mike Brown.
Brown's speciality is the Kuiper Belt. In 2003, he discovered Eris, a Kuiper Belt object bigger than Pluto. A discovery that was instrumental in Pluto's demotion. A month later, he co-discovered Sedna. This was the first of what became 6 unusual Kuiper Belt objects that have been found with highly eccentric orbits that take them far out into space. They were 6 of the most distant objects ever found in the solar system. It was studying their orbits that led Brown to the idea that there might be another planet out there.
So the story starts with the outer bits of the solar system, the Kuiper Belt.
What we found is that the most distant objects that are part of the Kuiper Belt, so these ones that come into the Kuiper Belt but swing out really far, the very most distant ones, if you look at their orbits, all of their orbits are pointing off in one direction instead of being randomly distributed around the sky.
So how tight is that alignment?
The ones that we know for sure that are aligned are 6 objects, and they're aligned within about 107-degree swath of the sky. Something like this.
Yeah, okay. And it's not just the alignment in direction as well. The orbits have other things in common.
Well, so first you see the alignment in the direction, and then you realize that these 6 very most distant objects are also all tilted in the same direction, downward and a little bit to the side. They're within about 7 degrees of being in the same skewed plane as of each other. And the combination of those two is what really shows you that there's something strange going on. Because, you know, you could get the 6 of them lined up just due to chance. It's about a 1% chance you would get it due to chance. About 1%, you know, it's a small number, but it's not that small of a number. But if you take it also into the fact that they're tilted like that, that's another approximately 1% chance. So it's about a 0.01% chance that this is all just randomly aligned.
So is that what got your attention and got you working on the problem?
That was the big clue that something is going on in the outer solar system.
This was an extraordinary finding. The tight clustering of the 6 orbits might have been caused by the gravitational influence of something massive in the outer solar system. For Mike Brown, the question now became what was out there and how could he find it?
Again, that whole video seemed quite professionally created. The name of it was Millions Unaware of What's Happening Right Below Them. Dr. Sean Faust, Shawnfost. I think I tried to zoom in on the name of that in the first part of the video. So more connections. This things seem to tie in. So anyways, let me get back to the crop circle book and look at another crop circle and do a bit of an analysis. I've been looking at this one quite a bit. Somewhere along the way, we've all seen this symbol. The globe with wings on it in various designs, and even the symbol for Isis is Isis with the wings on it. And over there in Egypt, there are many hieroglyphics with the globe with the wings on it. Even the globe with the two snakes and the wings on it symbol, like the globe with the two snake serpents on the pharaoh's head. If you're interested and you want to look into this to verify it for yourself, just look up Egyptian hieroglyphics. You'll get plenty of examples. I have a few here, but it's called the winged disc. See the serpents? See the disc? And apparently, according to Zachariah Stitchins and the videos I've done on the Anunnaki and Planet X, etc., apparently these beings have a globe, the wings. Even in the hieroglyphics, like I said, they have the globe and the wings above these two guys. Ancient UFO symbols. One guy goes, LOL, laugh out loud. Really? So these are Egyptian Pharaoh, Egyptian symbols coming from ancient aliens, artifacts, ancient Egypt. That was the meta tags. And the other one was Abu Mazda, ancient aliens. That's where they get the source from these things. Another one was a symbol, Celtic symbols. And the winged disc emblem is found in many ancient cultures around the world. The winged sun disc is one of the oldest religious symbols. So one of the oldest religious symbols shows up as a crop circle. And of course, a lot of these globes with the winged disc have serpents. So people don't want to believe in reptilians. And in the Bible, serpent in the Garden of Eden. So winged sun disk, temple of Horus. Udufu, Egypt. So the temple of Horus. Well, why, pray tell, is the all-seeing eye Horus depicted on the back of the dollar bill, and his father Osiris depicted as the obelisk in all of our city downtown squares or parks, or across the street from the courthouse, one across the street from the Capitol building, the Washington Monument, one right across the Oval Court of the Vatican, one right out in front of the Egyptian buildings near the three pyramids and the Sphinx. What's going on? They're all over the world, so it might behoove us. And it's the winged sun disk with snakes protects the entrance. So the winged sun disk with the snakes is protecting the entrance over there in Egypt. And there's a crop circle with one. And more crop circles connected with these symbols and this mystery religion. Freemasons, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, and so many more. Golden Dawn. There's 1,000 names you can simply put in your computer. Secret societies, and there are websites with a complete list. I've gone over some of that. And some of the crop circles seem to match some of the symbols or parts of them. So it really did become a unexpected, fascinating investigation, thinking I would just take a courtesy glance at these things and just see if I could come up with some connections. And I came up with a lot of them. The winged, see, there's Isis. The lions with birds with wings. And there's the sun disk with wings. Isis with wings, I guess. The sun disk with wings. So I was looking at that and I thought to myself, wait a minute. Where else have I seen that symbol? Fritz Springmeier's book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. The bird with two heads, like you can go see out in front of your, on top of your local Masonic lodge. If you're in a bigger city, it's a gigantic older building with two heads, a crown on his head, and one of the crop circles has a crown on it. The sun blazing in the back, obviously. The red sun here, depicted maybe as Planet X, Nibiru. The triangle, and the skull and bones, President George Bush Jr., John Kerry, and a lot of these other mystery schools and religions use these skull and bones. So just the picture alone gives you a plethora of information. So I said, well, what's this book say in the beginning of it? And I encourage anybody, if they can find a copy of this book, to get it, because it names all of the families like the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and DuPonts, and so many more, even the Kennedys. And even like in President John Kennedy's case, you won't get into high position or the presidency of the United States unless you're connected to these cults and groups. And I've come across some information that apparently President Donald Trump definitely is connected with some shady characters. And recently at a President Donald Trump rally, somebody was holding up a picture of him and a convicted pedophilia, and they had the guy thrown out. And there was other articles. Everywhere I look, I could find more and more evidence. And I'm telling you, I did vote for President Donald Trump when given the choice of Hillary Clinton as president. And it was torture to me to vote for either one of them. And I had to give it somewhat of the benefit of the doubt. But Hillary Clinton has certainly shown her colors, even with her temper tantrums and everything. And Donald Trump seems to be a little bit different, being courteous with his actions and reactions. So this is Fritz Springmeier's book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. So I was looking at the beginning of it, and there's just so much I've been turning up in this investigation. It might seem a little convoluted and incoherent, flip-flopping to this, to this, to this, but it's not. They're connected. I'm convinced of it. Well, here's a good example. I didn't expect this, but JFK, John Kennedy, with Robert Kennedy, with sex slave Marilyn Monroe, JFK at the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid. So here's a picture of John F. Kennedy, and the top one shows Illuminati kingpin are rewarded with sex slaves called kittens, who have been subjected to Illuminati total mind control. They also like to make pilgrimage to sacred occult sites. The Gaza pyramids are popular. So this is only in the third page of this book. So they get these sex slaves, and it mentions Illuminati, and it shows these people, JFK, at the sacred occult sites. Like I said, if you can find this book, or you can go watch some of the Fritz Springmeier videos. Above here, it's got the Mother of Darkness Castle in Belgium. In the bottom, artwork done from the memory depicting the life of the Mother of Darkness by an ex-Illuminati, which accurately depicts the Mother of Darkness Castle. Here's another page. The Point of Light, Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, is a very special place. On October 30th, 1991, it was even more special because of a visit from Barbara Bush. The First Lady came to the hospital to learn more about its innovative dyslexia training program and the literary campaign it recently started to help thousands of Texas students learn to read. So Mrs. Bush, I'm trying to see where it says it has something to do with the 1,000 points of light. Maybe something, maybe not. All right, I was going to read from the front of this introduction of Fritz Springmeier's book, which has the bird with the double head, with the wings, skull, crossbones, and the disc behind the bird, as you can see in the picture. I am pleased and honored to present this book to those in the world who love the truth. The goal of this book is to lay out the historical facts about those elite bloodlines. It is the reader's responsibilities and prerogative to decide whether he or she wants to do with this fascinating information. There is no doubt that this information has far-reaching implications. For instance, once one understands these bloodlines, wars between kings no longer appear as war between elite factions, but often can be recognized as contrived wars created to control the masses of both sides by their greedy Machiavellian masters. And the reason I'm mentioning this and reading this, because that's also part of the crop circles, and books like Crop Circles Revealed and so much more. It seems like there's a lot of sacred symbolism out there, plus chaos and anarchy on both sides of all conflicts, basically keeping all of us confused. 50% of the people swayed this way, anti-Christian, and 50% of the people swayed this way, pro-Christian. People pro-nationalism, people pro-worldwide order, pro-liberal, pro-conservative, pro-white people, pro-black people, pro-men, pro-women, pro-gay, pro-straight people, and anti-Mexican, pro-Mexican, anti-Arabs, pro-Arabs, anti-Jewish, pro-Jewish. It just continues with this barrage of craziness that it does keep people confused. And it does take a long time of reviewing this stuff and taking your time to get maybe an aha moment to see the bigger picture. The videos I've shown about the aliens is meant to feed information to the public. The press releases in the newspaper and TV programming, Hunger Games, Modern Family, the TV program, is meant to feed the public. The crop circles are meant to feed the public. The aggression against Russia, meant to feed the public. The showmanship of President Donald Trump, meant to feed the public. Back to this introduction on this book here. The Illuminati Grand Master once said that the world is a stage and we are all actors. Of course, this was not an original thought, but it certainly is a way of describing the Illuminati view of how the world works. The people of the world are an audience, which the Illuminati entertain with propaganda. I think Fritz Springer was ahead of his time, one of the first people to be waking up. There were others, of course. Todd Long. This book was published $1999. Original edition 1995. So I'm sure it took him quite a long time to put this information together. Just one of the thousands of recent examples of this type of acting done for the public was President Bill Clinton's 1995 State of the Union address. The speech was designed to push all the warm fuzzy buttons of his listening audience that he could. All the green lights for the acceptance were systematically pushed by the president's speech with the help of a controlled congressional audience. The truth, on the other hand, doesn't always tickle the ear and warm the ego of its listeners. The light of the truth of this book will be too high, too bright. The light of truth in this book will be too bright for some people who will want to return to the safe comfort of their darkness. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I deal with the real facts, not theory. Some of the people I write about I have met. Some of the people this book exposes are alive and very dangerous. The darkness has never liked the light, yet many of the secrets of the Illuminati are locked up tightly simply because secrecy is a way of life. It is such a way of life that they resent Carol Quigley's and the James Billingtons, who want to tell the real historical facts rather than doctored up stories and myths. I have been an intense student of history since I could read, and I am deeply committed to the facts of history rather than the cover stories the public is fed to manipulate them. It is clear that the history books have been doctored and that great power was concentrated in the hands of oligarchies around the world. But who were these powerful people? I was repeatedly asked. Is there a conspiracy? Who are the conspirators? The Illuminatis themselves decided to elevate 13 bloodlines. The number 13 is extremely important magically. And those 13 occult tribes mock the 13 tribes of Israel. Remember, the 12th tribe, the tribe of Joseph, was split into Ephraim and Manasseh. This does not mean that only 13 Illuminati bloodlines are powerful. There are other families that have risen to prominence. Further, worldwide, there are other families of great oligarchical power who have allied themselves to the Illuminati in the political and economic realms without having to intermarry into the Illuminati. I just thought this little introduction was appropriate to a lot of the work that I'm doing and the situation where we are today. Two families which have been near the top of the Illuminati, the Reynolds family and the Krupp family, have been included in the Appendix A and B. It is believed that at one time these families were within the 13, but have been edged out in the ongoing power struggle within the Illuminati. So within the power structure of the world, these people who control everything, there are ongoing battling for the people who are going to be at the top. Just like there are plans to divide the world up into 10 or 12 sections. You can look this up. And even the United States, they got 10 or so many FEMA regions. And then, of course, probably different persons of these bloodlines, these people connected to some kind of other hybrid DNA, whether it's just satanic or what, will be probably left in charge of each section. And if there are 8 or 10 or 12 parts of the world all divvied up and fenced off from one another, just think about the fence that President Donald Trump is putting up between the USA and Mexico, the one in Jerusalem or Israel between the Palestinian people and the Israeli people. They plan on having what you call a feudal society, where the different countries' citizens have to compete with each other for food and other quality of life essentials, water even. So they'll, like, let's say Africa might have to compete with India, and the reward for your hard work as a slave is that you'll be able to eat and drink and live. Is that what they want? And apparently that's part of the prophesized future, like the Hunger Games movie showed us. All right, back to this. I'll finish this introduction, as I said, because the information just seems appropriate. The Illuminati believe they are superior and have a right to rule over lesser man. A man will tend to view himself in his own eyes as a hero. One does not have to understand about the hidden Illuminati genealogies to have experienced the attitude of superiority of the aristocratic families that control the world. And I will say, you give one person a little bit of power, and they seem to go crazy, like homeowner associations. If you ever lived in a condo or a community or a home community where they had a homeowner associations, those people crack down like the police on their citizens that own properties in those divisions. It's crazy. I lived in one once and I couldn't wait to get out. The pride of the aristocratic and rich families is well known to the world. I do not fear the Illuminati taking over the United States and doing away with the Constitution. Remember, Fritz Springmeier wrote this book, which is pretty famous, because they took over this country long ago. And the Constitution has not technically been in effect due to presidential emergency decrees since World War II, and before that too. Don't think for a moment you are going to vote the Illuminati out of office. They control the major and minor political parties. They control the process of government. They control the process of information flow. They control the process of creating money. And finally, they control Christendom. And I'm going to add now, in this age, 2018, somebody's behind the creation of these crop circles, with or without interdimensional assistance from spiritual entities, glowing orbs, or laser systems from satellites, or whatever. And the symbols they show us and represent are important to putting this puzzle together. God, however, controls the hearts of his people, and the perfect love of his followers casts out fear, for a spirit of fear does not come from God. And I've said that before. We can't fear any of this thing that's coming. We just need to be aware and know who we are and have faith in God, as Fritz Springmeier says in this book. I think that's the weapon that they don't want you to have. And again, I'm not trying to be a preacher. I'm trying to read these books and understand WTH. What the heck is going on? So he says here, I have decided to display to the reader 4 charts I have drawn. The reason for these charts is to answer immediately the question, how important are these bloodlines? You will quickly notice that the United States, which is typically viewed as a country where anyone can become president, has had its leadership derived from and controlled by these Illuminati bloodlines. It may be premature in some ways for the reader to understand the full value of these charts until more of the book is read, and any reader is welcome to return to these charts at his leisure. So he goes back here, one more part I'll read. Most presidents are connected to the elite. Simple sample biochart. John Adams and John Quincy Adams. The Adams family had come over to the colonies from the sacred Druid area of Glastonbury. They were members of the Druid dragon cult, although publicly Adams was known as a Unitarian. John Adams was on the committee made up by Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and himself to design the seal of the United States. That would be the pyramid with the eye on it, and the reverse of it, the eagle with the feathers in one claw and arrows in another, 1313. The shield with 13 stripes. The stars above it with King Solomon's 6-pointed star with 13 stars. And there's more 13s there. So there's just so much here in this book with this particular symbol that was in a crop circle. And I have more information. It was actually amazing to find out how simple it was to start interpreting some of those crop circle symbols. And some of them are not circles. And I think if I were to continue doing it, which I will, it's going to continue to expose more and more of this connection between the UFOlogy, aliens, abductions, hybrid beings, and the secret mystery religions of all these lodges and temples and Kabbalistic, Rosicrucian, witchcraft organizations. Just saying. Here's some more pictures. Famous pictures we've all seen. Harley Davidson. I always thought there was a connection between those two names, Harley and Davidson. Get it? King Solomon's temple. His father was King David. Jesus was born of the lineage of David. And a lot of the Jewish names put son on the end. David's son. Hender's son. To change the name slightly. Like I said, it was relatively easy to expose some of this stuff. I think I made a video on this book a long time ago. I thought I did, but I didn't. I just shown it in videos. I should make a video on this book. But I did turn to the winged globe section. Symbols. and their migration and universality. Universality. So the winged globe and caduceus and the trusula, the winged globe outside Egypt, the winged globe of the Egyptians, a combination of a disc, a sparrowhawk, the goat, and the serpent. Meaning of this symbol, its migration into Phoenicia, Syria, Mesopotamia, and Persia. Modification of its forms, its later combinations with the human image, the sacred bird, the sacred tree, and the conical Bethel, its influence upon some symbolic figures of the Greece and of India, the Oriole, the thunderbolt, the chakra, etc., winged globes of the New World. Winged globes of the New World. So apparently, on this New World Order, this symbol is going to be maybe like the cross is to Christianity. Just saying. Or the menorah, the seven candlestick, is to the Jews in Israel. Or the six-pointed star. All of them having very apparently nefarious purposes and symbolization. Okay, the winged globe outside Egypt. There are certainly not many features common to the different representations which the ancient Egyptians made of the sun when they depicted it according to the locality and in the form of a rotating, radiating disc. And we've seen that everywhere. Even behind the eye on the back of the dollar bill is a radiating disc. Notwithstanding, they hit upon the means of contracting all these figures into one. So they put all these figures into one, and then of course I got the sun on there. Probably a lot more to identify there if you counted the feathers and other parts of the design. Round the disc, now a globe. They twisted symmetrically the two Uranus snakes with heads erect and sometimes wearing a crown. So the serpent wearing a crown. Divine serpent, you think? Behind the Uri, this globe received the outstretched wings of the sparrowhawk on the top of its undulating. Horns of the goat spread out on top of the globe. That's interesting. And from this fantastic mixture came those winged globes, which while attaining their highest perfection under the 18th dynasty, formed during the whole period of the Egyptian art, so original and graceful a subject to ornamentation upon the pylons and lintels of the temples. It has been said with good reason that the winged globe is the Egyptian symbol par excellence. According to the inscription at Edfu, it was Thoth himself, the god Thoth, however you say it, who caused it to be placed above the entrances to all the temples in order to commemorate the victory won by Horus over Set. So Horus, the all-seeing eye, is on the dollar bill. And apparently Set, Osiris's brother, killed Osiris, cut him into 13 or 16 pieces, spread the pieces all over the world, and Osiris's sister and his wife, Isis, went all over the world seeking the pieces and found them all except one, the penis, the phallic unit, which is now represented in our city squares across from our courthouses and other major buildings, and across from the Vatican and across from the Capitol building. the George Washington Monument, and all over the world. Delaney Park, where President John Kennedy was killed, I believe there's an obelisk. So that would be Horus and Osiris. And the globe with the wings is also a symbol for Isis with her arms spread with the wings on it. You can look up the Isis symbol on Yahoo image site and see many of the pictures and click the links to get your education about that. So all this stuff is connected. This New Age culture, this global world order, this anti-Christian attitude, this homosexual rainbow agenda, androgynous thinking, the combination of the male-female sexes with the even in the rituals they have, like Eurovision and Conchita Wurst winning the contest. Wurst means a sausage, like the obelisk, the phallic symbol, and of course Conchita is a female part. You get it? Or having depicted the orb under the natural form, did they add urea to symbolize its sovereignty? And horns recall its strength, and wings to indicate its faculty of transition through space. And I'm thinking about the orb glowing or red, and I'm thinking even when the crop circles were made, there were glowing orbs viewed, observed, or even photographed and videoed creating the crop circles. And also even in the UFO reports I just reviewed from MUFON.org, people are reporting the glowing orbs. Perhaps it is here unnecessarily to choose between the two systems which divide the opinions of Egyptologists. A third interpretation, which to me seems to better account for the formation of the winged globe, makes it the result of a conscious and intentional combination of various personifications of the sun. I wonder if there's any more pictures here. There's more information, but I have other stuff to look at. But make no mistake about it, it is a symbol probably more revered all over the world. More corporate logos. Go look on the front of your car. Everywhere you look, a lot of people don't recognize this stuff. But it's probably one of the most used and most powerful symbols. And again, even with the Anunnaki, Zechariah Stitchin's material, so I'm going to read from the book again. Crop circles revealed. Like I said before, when you go buy a book like this, you have to use discernment. This is meant to make you think something, like the crop circles, like the video about the abduction, and the scientists talking about apparently there's another body of planets revolving around something, interacting with Earth, our solar system. And in the meantime, you know, the channeled materials, the channelers channeling some invisible entities, and the books I've been going over, and so much more, is convincing people worldwide that Christianity is outdated, other religions are outdated, and even the people who persist in believing in Jesus and Christ and morality, as we were taught when I was growing up, well, we're going to be called haters. And they will have most of the world believing in the this new reality, this new philosophy, this new winged globe religion with the obelisk and the all-seeing eye, and some kind of a hybrid human aliens and other aliens that created humans and are returning for our benefit and to straighten out the planet because we messed it all up. People will believe this. All right, so there is some material written up in this book. So there you have it, The Winged Globe, 1999, June 19th. This 670-foot-long pattern has reminded many people of the Egyptian symbol known as the Wings of Horus, the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill. A winged solar disk, or the wings of the falcon, that protected most of the Egyptian temples. The ancient symbol, with several types of elaboration, was usually painted over the doorways of the holiest of holy chambers. Horus was considered the god of wisdom, and he represented the processes of becoming spiritual. And remember the Ten Commandments. There is only one God. We're not to be believing in all these other gods. You can see the conflict. The four quadrants of grain in the center circle are each laying in a different direction. So the grass was turned down in a different direction, which along with the lay of the wheat at the two ends gave a three-dimensional look to the formation. In the 18th century, historian William Stokely surmised that the origin layout of the stones leading from the nearby Avery stone circles was like this ancient Egyptian symbol of the serpent passing through a circle with wings of feathers. And then in this book here, there's an explanation of some psychic who looks at the image or whatever and comes up with a channeled or some kind of intuitive psychic meaning to what it means. And he or she says, "This is the image of the pod of Eden. The cupped end receives the pollen that fertilizes the center globe, which is your Mother Gaia." So Gaia, Mother Earth is called Mother Gaia, part of this New Age philosophy. The other creates the seed, portraying the balance of the male-female aspect. Here we go with the androgynous discussion. And if you look up pictures of the devil, you will see that he has a breast like a woman and a male unit like a man. So he's androgynous, male, female. Conchita Wurst in Eurovision, like the American Idol program in 2014. Go look it up. Head like Jesus, the body like a woman. All this stuff with the rainbow agenda, transgenderism, get it? Pansexualism, sex with anything, get it? Just as all plants have a pollination process, this crop circle speaks of the pollination, the fertilization, and the pod of Eden. Sounds like the Garden of Eden. The star glyph is the cosmic heart of the Divine Mother. Like I said, there was just so much to go over here. I might take a look at one more thing and end this video. I was talking on and I didn't realize I didn't hit the record button. So I have this other document. I showed this other crop circle at the beginning of this video. Which seems to be a accumulation of many other crop circles, over 1,000 feet long. But it looked like something else. And while I was doing my research, I discovered something weird but similar. But apparently there's this facility they're building, or they have built plans for it, called the Elohim Embassy. And we know that in my series 202, I discussed the Elohim, which apparently are fallen angels who mated with humans to create the Nephilim, which were apparently giant beings in the Middle East, the land of Canaan, as it was called back then. And I thought of something else interesting yesterday. So God, whatever the God was that was the performed the miracles with Moses to assist the Pharaoh in making his decision to release the Hebrews, let my people go, as the movie would say. So apparently the Pharaoh, the Egyptians, were the enemies of the Hebrews, the Jewish people. But the Jewish people that exist today are not all Hebrew. A lot of them are derivatives of the land to the north up by Poland, Germany, Russia, a country called Khazars, which the whole country converted to Judaism when given the choice to be Christians or Muslims or Jewish. They heard that the Jewish people were God's chosen people, so they chose that. And they're now called Ashkenazi Jews. So they're not brown Arabs, they're white people. And the Khazarians had a long history, reputation of being a very barbaric warrior type people. So these are now the bulk of the Jewish people. And they, of course, learned that religion from the Hebrews, the Kabbalah, which apparently was the magic of the Pharaoh in the Middle East, wherever he got all that knowledge of magicians. And apparently even in the time of Jesus, if you went to Egypt, before you could leave Egypt, they had guards at the border so people couldn't smuggle out the knowledge, the technologies, or objects related to the powerful magic or technologies of the Egyptians, wherever that came from. So anyways, the story, of course, is the Elohim mated with the human women, and they were supposed to be fallen angels, some higher deformed beings, and they created the Nephilim, which were giant beings. And when Moses was escorting and assisting the Hebrews away from Egypt, and apparently at that time the enemy of the Hebrews was Egypt. But on their way towards the south, towards the Middle East, the land of Canaan, apparently the God of the box, the Ark of the Covenant, said it was going to be their land, and they had to go there and kill all of the Canaanites. So I just thought to myself, so the Hebrews' enemy before they left Egypt were all the Egyptians. And after they leave, their new enemy, according to this God in the box, the Ark of the Covenant, the new enemy is all the people in the Middle East, the Canaanites. And since then, for a couple thousand years, wherever the Jewish people went, largely speaking, they encountered prosecution, persecution, and even massacres, apparently for some kind of religious and cultish rituals, activities, and their antisocial attitudes with other people, and fixations on accumulating money and control. In other words, they rather quickly, wherever they were at first welcomed, later on they were unwelcomed. So I'm thinking the enemy before they left Egypt were the Egyptians. The enemy on the way to the Middle East, according to the God in the box telling them to kill all the Canaanites, was all those Canaanites. And then later on, for a couple thousand years, wherever they went, everybody was their enemy. Just me thinking about Israel, about this. And if I'm wrong, somebody tell me where I'm wrong here. But apparently in Israel, the Realian movement might be a little bit difficult to follow me here, is a non-profit international organization. It unites those who wish to inform humanity of its true origins and tell people about the very special messages sent by the Elohim. So here's the Elohim. And the Nephilim, the Canaanites, apparently are their descendants. And the God in the box, the Ark of the Covenant, was telling all the Hebrews, guided by Moses with all his connections to that spiritual magic power, and to go kill all these Nephilim. And they were a highly advanced extraterrestrial scientists who created life on Earth, including the human beings. So now in this document, it says these Elohim are the ones that created we human beings. But spreading this knowledge is not the only goal of the Raelian movement, R-A-E-L-I-A-N. And I did order a book by this author, R-A-E-L, that you can look up on used book sites or the internet. So there is a Raelian movement, and another primary mission of our organization is to prepare an official embassy to welcome the return of our creators. Through their messenger, Rael, R-A-E-L, the Elohim have respectfully expressed a desire to come and meet with us. But since they wish to come only if their presence here is welcome, they ask that we first demonstrate our desire to invite them by building an appropriate embassy in advance of their arrival. Well, my phone rang. So let me finish this video. So apparently these Elohim want to come and visit their creations and want to know that they're welcome, and they only want to come if their presence is welcome. They ask that we first demonstrate our desire to invite them by building an appropriate embassy in advance of their arrival. That embassy would become the third temple, Israel, King Solomon's temple, as predicted in the ancient scriptures. So again, I had to ask myself, the Elohim are coming back. They mated with humans and created the Nephilim, the Canaanites. The God in the box, the Ark of the Covenant, told them to kill all the Canaanites, the Nephilim giants. So they were the enemy. And the land they came from, the Pharaoh, apparently he was the enemy. And now these Elohim are the God of the Israelites, the Jewish people, and not all Jewish people are aware of this stuff. And they want a temple, an embassy built, which will be the third temple. You talk about a surprise to me learning this, and apparently there's books published and all kinds of material. According to specifications provided by the Elohim, it must be built in a neutral location that had been granted rights of extraterritoriality and guaranteed neutral airspace, provided such an embassy, and obtaining the necessary guarantees for the rights of his occupants will prove that humanity is ready for an official meeting with its creators. You can look this up on www.elohimembassy.org, ELOHIM embassy.org. The Raelian movement recently asked a number of countries to consider hosting the embassy project, and several have indicated an interest in allocating space for such an endeavor. Preliminary discussions are already underway. As shown in the document presented to the various governments approached, the embassy of our fathers from space will bring substantial financial benefits to the country hosting it. So the people who created us will bring special financial benefits to the country hosting it. The fortunate nation will also enjoy the special protection of the Elohim and become the spiritual and scientific center of the planet for millennia to come. And according to my research, the site has been selected is in Israel. And here's, I did a simple search, Elohim Embassy, Yahoo search results. And that's where I noticed that they had declared it was going to be built in Israel, and it's supposed to be the third temple. So obviously it's Israel. So there's several results for this Elohim Embassy search in Yahoo. Global Elohim Embassy. Elohim Embassy, powerful and loving extraterrestrial humans. The Elohim who are 1,000 years, excuse me. I get a little tongue-tied when I get tired. Who are 1,000 years more advanced than us scientifically, and have offered to help us resolve the extremely dangerous planetary challenges threatening the extinction of life on Earth now. Wow. Global Elohim Embassy Christian Center. The Realien Movement is a non-profit international program. So if you are curious or you didn't know about this stuff, please go look it up. You talk about connecting the dots. The extraterrestrials symbolized the crop circles. The celestial planetary systems and stars involving the crop circles. The Illuminati, the mystery religion of the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Illuminati, who are behind World War I, World War II, 9/11, helping to create the country of Israel after hundreds of years of wanting a return of this global New Age, Golden Age kingdom. Lots of evidence out there. What are we to think? Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.